Good evening from Granada Reports, and thank you for joining us.
Good evening. The North West, like the rest of the country, is preparing for the funeral of Her Majesty the Queen on Monday.
Tonight we'll be hearing from people from our region among those massive queues in London waiting to pay their respects as she lies in state, and some famous faces in the crowds too.
If you're hoping to travel there this weekend or even early on Monday, it is still possible, but you will have to be patient. We'll have some useful tips to help plan your journey.
Fond memories from the night the Queen dazzled Blackpool at the Royal Variety performance. We'll hear from North West comedians who made her laugh and talk live to the Lancashire impressionist John Colshaw.
Plus, the best boss I've ever had. We speak to two people who served Her Majesty and got to know her well.
And there's much more, so please stay with us. First, though, those people from our region determined to be in London to be part of history.
Our correspondent, Leisha McNally, reports from among the huge queues waiting to say thank you to their Queen.
Crammed with crowds, this is the South Bank like you've never seen it before. And seemingly on every corner, someone from the North West settling in for a long wait to say goodbye to the Queen.
70 years on the throne, 96 years of life. It's to be a part of it and to say thanks to a woman who has worked hard throughout her whole life, always being there, heartbeat of the nation. The last train direct to Liverpool is at 9 I'm not going to make it, but we're here, we're going to see how far we get.
But even getting here to join the queue has become a marathon mission. London is busy. That's not exactly breaking news, but this time it feels really different. It's estimated that more than 1 million people could make their way to the capital ahead of the funeral on Monday, which means the underground, the stations, the cafes, even the pavements are totally packed. And making it through to the lying in state is now a feat of endurance. As of 10 o'clock this morning, the queue was officially full. Entry paused for at least 6 hours. Stretching from Southwark Park and winding along the banks of the River Thames for 5 miles, the queue passes landmarks such as HMS Belfast and the London Eye before finally reaching Lambeth Bridge. But that queue is almost 10 hours long and constantly moving, with little chance to sit down and rest. This lot have been here through the night, and northerners then face a long journey home. But as they finally get to the right side of the river and that first glimpse of Westminster, nobody is deterred.
We're really just celebrating the Queen's life and what she's done for us and how she's ruled for the last 70 years and all her dedication to the country and all that.
The thought that it's just she's been here for 70 years and she's just gone, she's passed away. So it's all the
bit too big not to miss.
A bit of a journey down, and a bit of a journey back, but well worth, coming. I think we all knew it was going to happen at some stage, but I think it's just come as a shock, and I'd love to, just pay me respect.
She was like the nation's grandmother. Came down for the Queen Mothers, and I just thought that it was important to come. Brought my sister with me, who didn't experience it last time. It was worth the wait.
And it has been quite a wait, hasn't it? I mean, tell me about the queue.
Well, we joined the queue at 11 o'clock last night, so it's 12 hours to here. So, yeah, some queue. But we made some nice friends in the queue. Friends for life, hopefully. At 2 o'clock this morning when we were all freezing, we were all together. Yeah. There was a real togetherness that, kept us going.
And that camaraderie has carried people through what's been a long and weary wait.
The atmosphere in the crowd's been good, everyone's got along, everyone's had a good chat and a conversation, and just that's pretty much it really. Just once you're here, aren't you, and you've got to see it through. The service she's put to the country, it can't be ignored. I think the queue, it's been long, it's been a hard night, but the kids have been brilliant, and we're here now, and we're hopefully not going to be much longer.
And this is what they've been waiting for. A pocket of silence and stillness in the middle of a heaving city. Among those paying their respects inside Westminster Hall, former Manchester United player David Beckham, who queued incognito through the night.
I think Her Majesty meant so much in so many different ways. Every time that we stood there and we wore those 3 lion shirts and I had my armband and we sang, God Save Our Queen, that was something that meant so much to us. And every time that we did it, it was something special. It's a sad day, but it's a day for us to remember.
And that's a moment shared by people from all walks of life, the chance to pause and say goodbye to a woman who was a maker of memories right up until the very end. Leisha McNally, ITV News, Westminster.
And real dedication to get that chance. So if you're heading to London this weekend, that's what lies ahead.
Our reporter Tim Scott's at one of the places offering a direct link to the capital, Preston railway station. So Tim, it's still possible to get there?
Oh yes, absolutely, Anne, but bear in mind this is going to be a huge unprecedented exodus to London for the funeral of Her Majesty the Queen on Monday. Avanti West Coast, who run the trains from the northwest into the capital, they're laying on an extra 4 chartered trains a day from Manchester to London to cope with the demand. People need to be aware though, on Monday when they're in London for the funeral, there's going to be some tube stations which will be closed to prevent overcrowding. That could cause problems in itself, but they will reopen later as people leave the area. On the coaches, National Express say they're having to cope with an unprecedented demand for travel to London. Victoria Coach Station in London, that's going to be closed on Monday. That's where people would normally get off. Instead, they'll have to get off at Wembley in North London and make their own way to the centre. Well, earlier today we spoke to some coach passengers in Manchester who were making that journey to London for the funeral of Her Majesty the Queen.
She devoted her entire life to us, so it's only right that we devote a moment of our life to her. Literally just finished a night shift and I will be going straight on to the bus and try and get some sleep on the bus before I get to London.
I wouldn't mind queuing for about 8 hours. I'm not sure if I want to queue for much longer than that, not sure.
As for the planes, British Airways say there are still some tickets left for their services between Manchester and London. On the roads, engineering works will be suspended on all the major routes into London ahead of the funeral, but with road closures in place around the centre of London for the funeral, things are sure to get very, very busy. The overriding message here, if you're going to London, is please plan and then plan some more. Anne, Rob.
Tim Scott and Preston for us tonight. Thank you.
And you can keep up to date with the latest travel advice and information at itv.com/Granada.
And if you're planning to stay up here to watch at home or on a big public screen, details of all of that are on our website too. Now, for youngsters, the passing of the monarch may be a difficult subject to grasp.
But a school in Liverpool, like many others in the northwest, has been tackling how little ones are feeling about these historic events.
Both deaf and hearing pupils at Knotty Ash Primary learned sign language, and today they did a special performance to honour the Queen. Anna Yosef was there.
Expressing their gratitude for the late sovereign through song and sign language. For many of the pupils at Knotty Ash Primary School, the Queen's passing has raised questions about death and dying, and they're turning to their teachers for answers. Staff encourage students to share their feelings.
When I say the term death, how does that make us feel?
It makes me feel sad because, like when I'm going to bed, the thought of death shivers through you. But you don't have to worry all your life about death.
No.
Because use your life while you can.
Definitely, and I think that's a brilliant motto, Jack.
It just made me think some loved ones that go, it's very sad and it's hard to get over it. It's hard to carry on. You just gotta think to yourself sometimes that not everything can go the way you expect it to go.
It's made me feel a little sad because you get a bit worried and you don't want it to happen to anybody else or to you.
Sometimes when I think of the Queen, I think of my auntie that died because she week I used to go over to her care home and do some dancing for her because I'm really good at dancing, and it makes me feel a little bit sad and happy.
The head teacher thinks it's important pupils are taught about death and loss as part of the curriculum.
What sort of questions have the pupils been asking about death and dying?
They've seen the images of the casket, so they've been asking whether the body is in there, what will happen to that body, where will it go next, why perhaps, some don't quite understand why people are upset who don't know her personally. So there's a lot of questions, a lot of concepts of grief and of public service that the children are kind of learning about for the first time, really.
What's the best approach to take when talking to children?
We don't use metaphors for death. We're very matter of fact in how we talk about death, but we're very conscious that some of our children have lost relatives very recently, so we need to take that into account when we're doing a whole school or a whole class lesson about bereavement.
Helping children understand the concepts of death, grief and bereavement. Valuable life lessons. Anna Yosef, ITV News, Notty Ash.
So resilient and so gorgeous to watch.
Absolutely.
Well done, everyone there. Now, the best boss I've ever had. That's how one former member of the royal household remembers the Queen.
For a decade, Julie Weldon from St Helens held the title of Royal Dresser, helping Her Majesty to select and wear thousands of different outfits.
Over the years, Julie got to know the Queen well. And as David Chisnell reports, she's not the only one from the North West with fond reflections of time spent in Her Majesty's service.
The best boss I've ever had. Her wit, her humour, she put you at ease. She's a bit like me now.
Royal reflections from 20 years serving the Queen.
Hello, my name is Julie. You okay?
Julie Weldon is now a healthcare assistant at St Helens Hospital. But for a decade, she was a dresser to Her Majesty.
If it was an evening dress, we'd have to help her choose the outfit. We'd look back what she'd worn in the past if she'd been there before, what colour the room is, to make sure she didn't have the same colour on, and we'd help her to zip her up and do the hook and eye. But she'd basically put it on herself. She does dress herself.
Well, Julie spent many hours in the Queen's company with conversations often centred around household gossip or last night's TV. And while she took her job seriously, the Queen made sure that Julie did have time for some horseplay.
She couldn't believe that I'd never been on a horse. So she said to me, "You're going horse riding tomorrow?" I went, "Am I?" So she took me down to the stables and set me up on this horse with this groom. And it was quite a frisky horse and kept wanting to feed every time we go in a bush, and I kept tipping me off. And so I wasn't so keen. And then when I came back, she was waiting for me and she gave me the thumbs up that I hadn't fallen off.
Like Julie, Tommy Walsh from Liverpool also has many memories from working in the royal household. As a butler, he waited on the Queen on numerous occasions, although dinner services didn't always go to plan.
I said, "Terribly sorry, ma'am." I said, "I can't see the coffee in the cup with the gold. I've got no glasses." And I was relaxed because I knew everybody there. And she went to me, "Well, I will help you." And she got a hand. She went up, and moved a hand over and stop. And we'll do it again when you come back if you don't find your glasses. And somebody on the table said, "Tommy, do you want to borrow mine?"
Personal memories of the Queen have been triggered by her passing, and her funeral on Monday will be another day of reflection.
It's a terrible loss, and you always wish, I had that one more moment to see her again, to serve her again. But I'm happy the last time I served her, we had a good laugh.
I was going to go to London and meet friends there that are watching it in London, but I think I'm just going to sit on my own and watch it, and just reflect and get all my old photos out and have a little reminisce, a little cry.
I imagine it'll be quite emotional.
Yeah, I think it will be. Very sad.
For Tommy and Julie, there's the pain of losing the Queen, but also the huge pride of serving this country's longest reigning monarch. David Chisnell, ITV News, St Helens.
Pride indeed. Now, Queen Elizabeth always had huge interest in the arts and in entertainment, and personally attended almost 40 Royal Variety performances during her 70-year reign.
There have been 110 performances in total, and most have been in London. But the show wasn't always held there. Please watch out for some flashing images in this report from our entertainment correspondent, Caroline Whitmore.
Well, for over 100 years now, the Royal Variety performance has been held in venues across the UK. The Queen's attended 39 in total, 3 of which she watched right here in the Northwest, twice in Blackpool and in Liverpool in 2007.
And so to the playground of the north, warm, crowded, pulsing Blackpool.
The very first time the show was held outside of London was in 1955, when Blackpool, the home of entertainment, hosted the event.
Councillor Ogden, Blackpool civic head, waited to greet them.
Her Majesty attended just 2 years after being crowned Queen. She watched in the Royal Box at the Blackpool Opera House. Carla Hunt explains there was a new seating plan when the Queen returned in 2009.
When we found out Royal Variety was coming to the Opera House, the Queen obviously has to be in a prime position to watch the show. So we got together with our team and we decided to seat the Queen into the circle level of the Opera House where we're sat now. And it was a private area for her. I've worked at the Winter Gardens 21 years and that has to be one of the best events. Was Peter Kay.
Special lady in the audience. I think you know what I'm talking about. It's me Nana! Edie!
Bette Midler. Lady Gaga. Just the buzz around the venue was amazing.
A book of condolences has been opened in the main foyer of the Blackpool Opera House.
I'm going to get you, just stop it now.
Yvonne, tell us about the times your late great husband, comedian Bobby Ball, met the Queen. I mean, there's a bit of a debate, isn't there, of how many times he actually met her?
Well, I think it was 3, but Bob always exaggerated and he used to say it was 7. You know what he's like. It was 1987 when he met the Queen. Got hair then.
Yeah.
And then when they did the line-up, he said she was tiny and he was chuffed because he found somebody smaller than him. He was happy with that.
Bobby Ball's comedy partner Tommy Cannon remembers the time they met the Queen.
She's actually stopped and she's talking to us. You are very good boys. You're from the north of England, obviously, aren't you, with that strong Lancashire accent. And it's just a memory that will never go out of my mind. And if Bob was here today, he would be saying the same thing.
St Helens comedian Bernie Clifton performed for the Queen on numerous occasions.
As she comes down and you're watching and suddenly it's your turn and it's like, I'm face to face with the Queen on the night of my life. The photograph is so precious because it was a split second, but the smile that the Queen gave me, ear to ear smile, I'll never forget it and I've got it forever.
Have you worked it out yet?
35 years later, I was at a reception at the Palace, and Bernie entertained you on the Royal Variety Show many years ago, Your Majesty, on an ostrich. And she went, ostrich? Ostrich? And I went, yes, Your Majesty, and the ostrich is still performing, but much, much slower. And she went, isn't it funny how things do get slower?
Yeah, fantastic memories there. Someone also lucky enough to meet the Queen a number of times at the Royal Variety is the comedian and impersonator John Culshaw. He's from Ormskirk in Lancashire, of course.
John's in London at the moment preparing for a show we told you about on the programme just a few weeks ago. It's called Flying High. It's his one-man biopic of the late, great Les Dawson.
And he's very kindly stepped out of rehearsals to talk to us tonight. John, thanks very much and welcome. Tell us about those times that you met Her Majesty. What do you talk about to the Queen?
Well, it really is. It's a magical moment, and it's one that you never forget. And it happened for me in 2001 at the Royal Variety Show that year. And it's an astonishing moment, the line-up at the end, as Bernie was just describing before. And you look down and there's Her Majesty speaking to the other performers. And gradually it's becoming your turn. And it's very nerve-wracking and it's a heck of a moment. But by the time the Queen reaches you, she was just so calming. And this energy of serene wisdom, the calmingness that just made any nervousness you might have had just evaporate in an instant like that. And that's what you remember, just how calming she was.
Having that memory of that moment, that calming moment, how much more difficult was it for you to process her loss?
It is. There's a huge sense of disbelief. The sense that she was just always here with us. And to think of her in the past tense now is very, very surreal. It doesn't seem real. Just as I walked to the studio to link up with you tonight through London, and the sense of the atmosphere, just the sunlight shining on the buildings, the flags at half-mast, the queue meandering through everybody in that purposeful way. It's a surreal atmosphere. You do feel that everything has slipped a groove in time, as it were, and there's a real sense of difference in the air itself. You really do feel that. The atmosphere is different.
What was it like performing for her, John? Admit it, a bit of pressure, surely.
Oh yes, it's wonderful pressure, but the sense of the honour carries you through. And I can remember it so vividly. It was at the Dominion Theatre in London, 2001. And in the darkened theatre auditorium, in your peripheral vision, you can see the royal box. And there, just in the centre of it, this sort of almost luminescent image of Her Majesty the Queen watching you. Even from there, in those circumstances, still a sense of kindness, still a sense of calm. It really was quite extraordinary, really extraordinary. And the nerves come back to you, as even describing it just now.
And do you get a sense she liked your impressions? Any royal impressions?
Oh yeah, well, we have to do those. We do have to do those. I remember on the night of that show, much missed Dale Winton. At the end of my act, he popped onto the stage and put his hands on my shoulders like that to surprise me. This rather amused the Queen. She said, "Did you know that he was going to run out and do that?" She the sense of mischief and surprise rather appealed to her. So that was a lovely moment. Yeah, we always have to do the royal impressions. I remembered a line for the Prince's Trust event. And I'd just spoken to the Prince of Wales at the time, King Charles III now, of course. And he said, "You know, I always, whenever I speak to you or Mr. Bremner, I always feel very scrutinised. There you are, observing, practising your technique." So.
John Culshaw, it is magnificent to hear all those memories and hear that brilliant impression. As always, thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure.
Next to tributes from two legends of sport from our region. Former Wigan Rugby League captain Chris Radlinski and ex-St Helens skipper Paul Sculthorpe will be cheering their teams with this weekend as they join Salford in the Super League semi-finals.
But they've also been sparing a thought for the Queen and our new King, who awarded their MBEs. They've spoken to our sports correspondent, Chris Hall.
It's been 55 years since the Queen last presented the Challenge Cup, but until 2016 she remained Rugby League's patron. She opened Lee Sports Village, home to Lee Centurions, and has even enjoyed a haka in her home. So when it came to chatting Rugby League with a Wigan captain, Her Majesty held her own.
She spoke about Wigan and the history and the great successes that the club has had. And she spoke about the physicality of rugby and how's my body and things like that, and representing the country and how did that feel. There's no doubt she's briefed. I can't imagine her tuning in on a Friday night to watch the games, but I never for one moment felt that she didn't know what she was talking about. She made me feel completely at ease. There it is.
Wow. Chris represented Great Britain and won every domestic honour with Wigan Warriors. Now he's their executive director, and that meeting with the Queen has moulded his approach to life in the boardroom.
You know what interests me now is obviously leadership and styles of leadership, and when you look at how she's led the world really and the outpouring of emotion, and she's not done it with an iron fist. She's done it by caring and showing great empathy and very little words really, but millions of people have followed her. And when you see how she carries herself with such grace and such dignity, I think that's why people can relate to her so much.
Before this weekend's playoff matches at Wigan and St Helens, there will be a minute's silence and a rendition of God Save the King. For Paul Sculthorpe, staying silent before meeting King Charles wasn't easy.
It was funny down the side of the corridor of the main room. Everybody's queuing and waiting for their moment to get called in. And I was actually with Luke Donald, the golfer, and obviously we got talking about sport, about rugby and golf. Somebody popped their head round and just said, "Will you two be quiet?" I think it's my deep voice. They must have heard. So.
After leading St Helens to multiple trophies, captaining his country and working with the Duke of Edinburgh's awards, Paul received an honour of his own from our new monarch. He's making you laugh, isn't he? What's he saying here?
So this is where he was saying, obviously, you know, his services to rugby league and charity, and I believe you've retired. He was saying you look far too fit. I think you need to pull the boots back out.
There is still a debate over what the future of the monarchy should be. But from your dealings with different members of the royal family, have you seen the good that they can do?
Yeah, most certainly. I must admit I'm a big fan of Prince William and Prince Harry as well, and how they've brought probably a modern spin onto the monarchy as well, and how they get involved with the communities and the investitures. Is, you know, you see some fantastic people and unsung heroes who do real good things for people, and it's great that they get to share their moments.
Tonight, the attention returns to the heroes on the pitch, but for a moment, enemies pause for rugby league's absent friend. Chris Hall, ITV News.
Wonderful. Almost time to go, but finally, a poignant reflection on a momentous week of mourning the passing of the Queen, but welcoming the new King.
This is the brass band and choristers from Chetham's Music School in Manchester with the new national anthem. Good night.
Hello, a very good evening to you. Weather-wise, high pressure continues to dominate as we go through this weekend and into next week, which means largely fine conditions. We've seen 1 or 2 showers around today, and that could be the case into tonight and again tomorrow. But on the whole, things are dry, breezy and bright, feeling cool, but temperatures will recover into next week. And at the moment, Bank Holiday Monday should be dry, fine, with slightly more cloud around. High pressure just staying nice and close to the UK, giving us these settled conditions for the time being. It's felt chilly due to the position of the jet stream pulling in colder air from the north, but gradually as we go through into next week, something slightly milder will begin to move in from the Atlantic, and temperatures in turn will recover. Back to this evening, the odd shower around, and then under clear skies it will become rather chilly in 1 or 2 spots. Rural parts of Cumbria, Lancashire, maybe Cheshire could dip low enough for a touch of grass frost tonight, down to around 3 or 4 Celsius. Bits and pieces of cloud elsewhere, and with that breeze, probably most places avoiding any mist and fog, but there could be a few shallow patches of mist before dawn. A chilly start to the day tomorrow, no doubt. And the sun times, it'll be up at 6:47, setting tomorrow evening at 7:23. Saturday, any mist will lift very promptly. There's a little bit of a breeze around again, nothing too much to worry about. And a dry start for many tomorrow, with plenty of sunshine on offer from the word go. Into the afternoon, a little bit more cloud will tend to build for northwest England and the Isle of Man, but we'll keep hold of dry conditions. A really nice day in prospect, 15, maybe 16 Celsius, so it's still just below average for the time of year. We'll begin to see those temperatures picking up day on day as we go through the weekend and into next week. So another chilly night tomorrow night, a touch of frost to wake up to on Sunday, more cloud building during Sunday but staying largely dry, as will Bank Holiday Monday. A little dull perhaps, but temperatures picking up, it's staying fine for the foreseeable. Bye-bye.